We're supposed to have some time to take questions and comments at the end here on more than just finances. But you can email, call, come into a member service desk. We're going to get to the candidate forum.
Yay! All right. Okay, so this is the other fun part of the agenda. Okay, so there's a lot of fun parts, but this is the fun part. Is it on? Can you hear me okay? Okay, I gotta keep it like this close. Okay, so I know we are, pressed on time, but we're gonna try to be very respectful and give everyone a generous amount of time to speak. This is one of my favorite times of the year, as I mentioned. And by the way, I'm Kenesha Jackson. You can call me CJ. I'm the vice president of the board. So for those who don't know that, but I wanted to say it to you guys. But thank you for all of, everyone who's attended today. I want to give a shout out to April Harkness. She's like so quiet and understated that like people don't know, but she makes a lot of this happen. So we gotta give a shout out to April for that. Also, just really quick, voting did open today, April 1st. So you'll get a chance to hear from the candidates, and then shortly after you can vote, after you ask questions, and it closes April 30th. So without further ado, I'm going to start with the incumbents. They're gonna lead the way. So let's give it up for Nick Clark, who's our current president. Nick, can you please tell the board, introduce yourself, let them know your background, and then why you want to run for the board again, okay?
Good morning again. I am Nick Clark. I am finishing my first term, so 3 years. The last 2 years I have been president. Before I got on the co-op board, I was on the Thetford Select Board. I was chair during the pandemic, and I can tell you the co-op is much better. I was not sure that I wanted to run for a second term, but I got genuinely excited and inspired by everything that is happening at the co-op, from our ends and our values to the amazing progress that is happening in the stores. And I could not walk away, so that's my...
Hi everyone, Peggy O'Neill. I'm from Cornish and I'm finishing my first term. And as I mentioned, when I started 3 years ago, I thought we would be able to be in community together like this, and much of our board work over the past couple of years has been remote. And so part of the reason why I want to run for a second term is just to continue to build the relationships that I've already started as a co-op member and co-op owner, and now a board member. When I'm not a co-op board member, I'm the executive director of WISE. We're the Upper Valley's Domestic and Sexual Violence Advocacy Center. And while our missions might be different, they align for me in terms of the values of believing people, supporting people, and being in community with people. When they're going through tough times, when they've been victimized, and also when they want to just provide for their family and shop in our stores. So there's some alignment with me around the values. The other reason I want to run again is when I first ran and joined the board, it was because I love to cook. And the co-op's just this fun place for me to cook. Coming onto the board, my mind has been completely expanded about the co-op movement and the special place it has in our society and in our community. And I want to be a part of it, and I want to strengthen how I'm a part of it. So I hope you'll consider me as you're thinking about voting for board members, and I would love to serve a second term. Thanks.
Thank you. I just want to thank you too for just all of your work you have done on the board for the term that you were part of it. So, all right, so we're going to move on to our new candidates. So first up, Katarina. Just introduce yourself, your background, and why you want to join the board.
Hi everybody, my name is Katarina Kate Kearney. A little bit about my background. I was born and raised in Newtown, Connecticut, down south, so I call I call everybody hon, I call everybody y'all. It's just the way I talk. I want to be on the board because I really want to be able to protect programs such as Food for All and Double Up Bucks, which I think are really important for the community at large. I work at the White River Junction store, so I see a lot of people come in with benefits. I watch a lot of people struggle to pay their bills to be able to afford food, and it's disheartening. And I think that protecting these programs is so important. I also think it's important that the White River Junction store has a voice. I feel like we're a little bit of a forgotten stepchild sometimes, but I know how important my store is to the community. And I feel like if you gave me the chance to represent you guys on the board, I'd be able to bring some new ideas and be able to elevate where I work and the place I love. I hope you consider me.
Thank you, Katarina. All right, so let's see, who else do we have? Eileen, come on up. I feel like the press is ready.
I don't have any letters to turn, unfortunately, so I have no pressure. Hi, everyone. My name is Eileen O'Toole. I live in Hanover. A little bit about my background. I was born in Massachusetts. I married a Marine at a young age, so we traipsed all over the globe, mostly in the South, and came back to New Hampshire in 2012 when my husband attended Can you hear me okay? Is that better? Sorry. It does have to be very, very close to your mouth. Sorry about that. We stayed after we graduated and started a business here. So we finished raising our kids here and love it. It reminds us a lot of the other areas in New England where we've lived. So I think in my statements, I talked a lot about sort of the growth of the college, and I hear a lot of great words that we always talk about, like community and things like that. And it concerns me when I see things in like the Upper Valley Facebook group where people are like, oh, we really need to name some big box business or a chain.
Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's, it's like, okay, that's great, but it really, is it too loud?
No,
Sorry.
Trader Joe's.
I didn't see it first. And I want to preserve that community. I think it's important that we think about how the co-op, what the places of the co-op as things grow and change in our community, so we can sort of preserve the special Upper Valley life that we have here. So happy to take questions afterwards.
Thank you, Eileen. Okay, so last but certainly not least. Oh, okay. Nella?
Hi.
Oh, there you go. Okay, come on up. I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, introduce yourself and background and just why you want to be a part of the board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, good morning. I'm Lynella Schmoller. I live in Essex, so I took the hour-and-a-half drive to get here this morning. Great drive. Snow's melting, fog, beautiful. I actually grew up in the area. My parents lived in Norwich, went to Hanover High School. I enjoyed, I think you saw in my statement, being in the high school. Then it had an open campus. You could walk to the food bin, which is now the gas station, and we'd go over and enjoy the bulk candy and so forth. My mom had a health food store called Honey Gardens in Lebanon, New Hampshire. Now I'm aging myself. How many people know about Honey Gardens? Fantastic. So beautiful, independent, but I really got intoxicated later after attending Bennington College with food co-ops. It's an incredible business model. I have the honor and privilege of having worked at City Market in Burlington as their director of purchasing and merchandising. Did that for 16 years. Got to enjoy the legacy of Tony White. Bruce Valletta's still here when he was in produce. I used to come down and help with the produce team and learn a lot. I left co-op food for Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets, and started to really enjoy board work, managed a board with them for the Working Men's Enterprise Fund, and now I'm vice president for operations at Vermont Land Trust. So a lot of connective tissue with food access and now working conservation and looking at land access. So really connecting the dots there. And I'm admittedly a policy governance geek and food geek. So you heard my questions about price comparison and so forth. I care a lot about co-ops. I care a lot about food access and making healthy choices, but not with judgment. So City Market doesn't have a food policy. I'm a member at Hunger Mountain in Montpelier, and I still kind of get perplexed when I can't find Monument Farms chocolate milk for my son because they don't like vanilla in ingredients. So, great to be here. I would be honored to join this board. I think it's been a dream since I've been in high school, secretly, to be on the Henrico board. So, thanks. We'll get to
Thank you, Mel. All right, so like I was saying, last but not least, Tracy Cutter. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tracy Cutter. I grew up born and raised in New Hampshire. I went to California, San Francisco Bay Area, and went to college there and spent 30 years out there raising my kids. I came back to New Hampshire for its sense of community. Nothing beats a small town and the way you care about people. And I just get really excited. So when I was looking for a job and my headhunter says, hey, what about working for the co-op? And I said, that sounds really cool because it aligns with my core values. I came back to New Hampshire for my parents who are aging. I love the program of the seniors. We give food to the seniors that can't make it to the stores. I have worked in each of the stores during the holidays, and I love the people that come up. I bagged, I had a conversation with them, and like Amanda said, it's building relationships. And I'd like to take my corporate knowledge, my finance knowledge, although this is not about money, and give it to the community. I'm at that point in my life where my kids are grown and I want to commit to a community and give what I can give so that everybody can thrive. So I hope you vote for me. Thank you.
All right, we have some good candidates. Please give it up again for our candidates. All right, so again, voting opens today, so you can vote at the table. You can also vote online, so if you go to the website, and then also in the stores as well. So you can cast a vote there, paper vote. Now we're going to open it up for questions, and if you don't want to vote today, that's okay. Just give it time to percolate, marinate in your mind, and you can go online, you can see the candidate statements. But we're going to open it up for questions to the audience. So anyone have any questions for our candidates? Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, I love that the co-op really supports the environment, and I think it's done a lot, but I think there's a lot more that could be done to reduce plastic. And so I was wondering if the candidates would like to speak to that and what they might recommend for plastic reduction.
All right. Does anyone want to tackle that question? Okay, Nick?
I'm at an advantage because I'm on the board. When I first got on the board, the only policy I really cared about related to climate change, and in the first year we added the net zero by 2030 goal. I'm like, great, my work is done. Everything is perfect at the co-op. And of course, there's so much more. There's packaging, there's zero waste, there's paying for it, all the changes that need to happen. We did add a policy already. Policy governance is tricky about encouraging sustainable choices to try and promote reusable bags. Actually, what has been happening at the co-op is April and others have been doing these things faster than the board can write the policies. So I almost think April should answer, but that's my statement.
Does anyone else want to tackle that? Alan?
Sure, I think it's a great question. And I also am reluctant to kind of get involved in sort of the operations of the business too much. And I haven't quite like read all of the different, you talked about one of the policy governance items. But it seems to me that encouraging also just bringing your glass, your own bag to refill. So I'm supporting this, right? I think it's really important. And again, I don't want to get into the weeds of operations too much. But I do recall recently, as a customer, buying something in bulk, and so like easily and elegantly the cashier weighed my container, figured out the tear, and I was able to purchase something. So I think like there's an obvious consciousness already with the staff, which is wonderful. I'm now learning about carbon sequestration, so that's like a whole sort of like high level piece, but I think there's a lot of opportunity to be thinking about strategically how the co-op does fit in with climate, all the dangers and mitigating the harm that we're causing from a lot of things that we do. So that would be my answer.
Hey. Yes, question back here.
In addition to being a co-op traditionalist, I'm also a fan of edgy questions. And I want to follow up on the question about plastics. So two candidates answered that question about plastics in a similar way, I would say. And the answer was something to the effect of, well, we do policy governance and that's really operations. And so it seems to me that when I hear an answer like that, you're basically saying to the members, even though this is of great interest to the members, because I've heard lots of members of the co-op talk about plastics and the need to phase them out or rely on them less. And so when you ask elected or potentially elected board members, what can you do about that? The answer you're getting back is essentially, well, nothing, because that's operations and we use policy governance. And so my question is there something wrong? I mean, should we ditch the policy governance so that the board actually can address the stuff that the members are telling the board they care about?
Okay.
No, I don't think we should ditch policy governance. I think I'm also coming from a place of having worked in operations for so long and thinking about the great work that one of my former colleagues, Brent Demers, did and still continues to do. When we tried just to separate film plastics. So that's a plastic that's around those pallets of all the food that we eat. And we were trying to separate the film plastic from the other plastic with lots of great effort. It's very important to me. It's incredibly important. I just want to make sure that I'm balancing between what I understand of what the staff can actually do and what my role would be as a board member to support that.
Does anyone else want to respond? Okay.
Do I need a mic?
Everybody needs a mic. Everybody needs a mic.
Thank you, Alan. I'm Liz Blum. I'm a former board member. And when I was on the board recently, people kept coming to me and talking about plastic and how can we get rid of plastic. So I told them to organize a whole bunch of people to come to a board meeting because I believe in grassroots organizing. And they came, and Ed Fox, who was the general manager at that time,
announced that we would be giving up the plastic bags at checkout, which we did, but we didn't give up other plastic bags. So I would encourage people to take the same kind of action, because that's really how you get things done.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to Katarina first.
And then we got to go.
Okay, yes.
So one of the ways I personally reduce plastic at White River is when offering somebody to wrap their meat, I actually use the small 20 bags, which are paper bags. And that way, the meat is still separated from their food, but it's a way to reduce plastic. And I try to encourage my coworkers to do that as well. Because once again, we're trying to keep that plastic out of the environment. We're trying to make sure, it's not getting in our waterways or in our food system. So I think it's really important to explore other options like that to really set the tone that we're going to use as little plastic as possible. So.
Sorry, Nick. It's a great question, and I don't think it's it's a great question. And Dawn, I appreciate the being provocative with us, and love to talk more about policy governance and its strengths and challenges. I think it would be wonderful if we had more conversations at the board meeting about how we are both personally and collectively showing up to reduce plastic. One of the things that I do is, because I still do use some plastic, I sort of didn't want to say that, but it's true.
Okay.
Is I bring the plastic bags that I do use, I bring them back and use them again for fruits and things like that if I can't singly, put my items in the cart. And I wash my plastic bags and reuse them all the time. It's not the answer to reducing plastic, but it's one way of approaching it. The other thing that I think about is balancing wanting to be a place where everyone feels comfortable shopping and being a place that maybe will feel exclusionary because we have certain ways of being when we shop. And I think we have to balance that. I think that plastic bags, I'm glad we don't have them in the stores, but I think the accessibility of the smaller plastic bags for vegetables, as an example, is an ease for some people who are shopping. So, I don't know. I don't have a really articulate point. I know that, and I think I don't know if it was Jamie, but someone mentioned, there's a perception that we are an expensive kind of niche place to shop, and we want more people. We want to be a community co-op. We want more people to come. So I think sort of balancing that, and I'm hoping that marketing can also include more awareness of the use of plastics and environmental responsibility as they begin to re-educate our community about the co-op.
I will say that policy governance is very good at what it does, which in my mind is preventing the board from micromanaging co-op employees who are experts, professionals. They do it day in, day out. The board is made up of community members. Plastics is incredibly complicated. There's different kinds of plastics. There's the shopping bags, there's plastics from vendors, there's compostable plastics. Composting in the Upper Valley is an issue that ties into that. It's not necessarily available to everyone, especially on the New Hampshire side. Reusable bags is, I know, complicated. If we think of, one idea was like the bottle exchange. If you bring the bottle back, you get your dollar back. Why can't we do that with bags? Because we have to launder them. There might be bacteria from fruits and vegetables or meat in the bags. So it's incredibly complicated. That's why we hire co-op employees to figure this stuff out. It's not going to be quick or easy, and the board as community members isn't going to get it right. And we also have to make sure that we are not hurting our margins, driving customers away, keeping the co-op open. It's so complicated. I think the best the board can do is make sure that Amanda and her team understand that this is important. And if we ask her, then she'd say yes, and that's a lot. And then there are so many good employees at the co-op that are working on this, and it's just complicated. It'll take time.
Okay, we're gonna take one more comment on this specific topic, because this is a hot button one. But I also encourage maybe some of the candidates to stick around, and if you have any questions. But this is what, we love about the co-op. This has been a topic since, when I ran, right? So that means that this one is not gonna go away until there's a change. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No,
She
I'll
had
talk
you
to
already.
someone later.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, just one additional comment from my experience. Not just being on the board for almost 3 years by now, but also having been an engaged member owner. So I was actually on the environmental committee that Les Blum started, and so the work can happen not only for members to join board meetings, but also within committees. That's where the juicy things happen. So that's an encouragement. The other piece that I wanted to reinforce is that policy governance, if it's not interpreted in a rigid, limiting way, can actually give space for change also from the board perspective. So it's not, once those boundaries between operations and board work are delineated, there's actually, if we're not too rigid in interpretation or too static, there's a lot of room for, making new policies that can support change. And as Nick said, I think the most important place that was very fruitful in making change happen at the co-op has been that alignment with the general manager and member owners providing the voice that empowers the board to be their interpreters, and then that voice gets brought to the general manager, and there's that kind of fluid alignment of values. That's what really energizes the change, and so it's super important to keep that accountability juice flowing, if you will. Okay.
All right, so I want to give everyone a chance to answer questions. So I do have a question, and this is specifically for Eileen and Tracy. Can you talk about just getting to know who you are? As you can see, the member owners are very passionate about the co-op, but and the board does require a significant amount of work. Can you talk about a little bit about managing your time, the board, the responsibilities of the board, and how you plan to do that? And if anyone else wants to chime in, like Kate, if you want to chime in on that. Then Ellen, if you want to chime in, please feel free to do so.
Would you like to go first? Okay. That's a good question. Thank you for asking. So I was on a number of boards for a lot of years when my husband was in the military before he retired. A lot of nonprofit boards, so youth, education, military. It was a great way for me to give back to my community and get involved and use my skills. And I took a pause for a while just to sort of catch my breath a little bit, right? And for me, when I fully commit to something, I fully commit. And so I'm now at a place in my life, she asked about how we're managing our time. My kids have all grown up and they've left the house, so I can catch my breath a little bit. So the time commitment isn't a concern for me. I work over at Tuck, I'm the director for the Center for Entrepreneurship. And, again, I'll go back to the word community. I really liked a lot of the comments that were made by the other board members. And one of the things I'm hearing is, we work with the store, we work with the community, but people bring different skill sets to the board. And I think the ideas and the recommendations and the support that we can all bring collectively is really, really important. And so that's how I'm viewing my time at the board is, how I operate, about solving problems, building new initiatives, helping students to do that, to kind of not go back to plastic, but I think about some of the problems that we have, and there's new innovations out there that are at least attempting to make things a little bit better. So I'm hoping that skill set
that I can bring might be useful for everybody.
My work balance life has completely changed. I am used to working a very corporate job and being chief operations person and finance person. I spent a lot of hours behind the desk or in a lot of meetings. And my 3 children have grown and don't live near the area anymore. They're spreading their wings like I did, and now I'm back. And I love the environment. I'm outside a lot. I do bees, I hike, I kayak. I've been brought up here in New Hampshire, and I love the environment. So for me, it's not I'm giving up my time. I'm passionate about this, and I'm passionate about the community and supporting people of all ages. You know, we have the childcare crisis. I love the fact that we do the Car Connect and help the underprivileged people keep their cars on the road and be able to provide for themselves. I love doing things with the senior community. That's very close to my heart with my aging parents. And I love being in the store. I mean, I've often thought, oh, I'll take a part-time job at the store. You know, but I want to use the skill set that I have, that I've acquired over my years, and help on a higher level. That's not to say I really do enjoy going to the store and bagging and having relationships with people that come to the store again and again. So to me, it's not so much time management, it's my passion.
Thank you. Okay. I think we have time for one more question, but again, candidates, if you can, please stick around. Maybe, you know, people may have questions for you. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, Kevin?
Give me enough time to think about it. Okay, so obviously I'm coming from a place of experience with this. So I was specifically asked a question of the 2 employee candidates. You know, obviously a good chunk of your daily life is already at the co-op. You know, in a particular section of the business. So in joining the board where you have to really zoom out and look at everything, look not to day, look forward, what excites you the most about that different lens that you're hopefully going to be looking at our business? What else about the co-op are you excited to learn about, to kind of put your hands on and kind of help your fellow board members look at?
Okay, it looks like you want to answer that first.
So I've always been a big picture kind of person. I like taking a step back and seeing exactly what's going on and looking at everything in question. I think being on the board would allow me to better educate my fellow employees about why we're making certain decisions, because I am at that store level, and I am on 2 committees. I was on the co-op rewards committee when we put that into effect, and I'm also on the employee engagement committee. And I feel like educating people at the stores is going to be important for educating our customers. And I love the co-op. I love this business. I may have started 7 months ago, but I absolutely love what I'm doing. I love interacting with customers. I love being on both those committees. It was great. And I feel like being able to step back and see the big picture instead of the micro picture that I see right now at White River is going to be really helpful.
I am looking forward to coming to the board and learning more about the co-op business model. It's something I'm not used to. But I also believe I can bring my operations experience, my very minute accounting detailed experience, so I can microscope in and out. And I just am very good at compartmentalizing. So I can work in the resource center and work with the numbers all day, but those aren't our people. And we need to build those relationships, understand what our community needs, and strategize to get them what they need.
Thank you. Okay, so give it up again for Nick. We have as well. So give it up, everyone. Thank you again. You can vote at the back of the table there. That's a computer. You can also find information about the candidates that are listed as well. So thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Nick to close us out.
The meeting is over. Thanks everyone for coming and enjoy the rainy weather. And I look forward to doing this in person next year. This was way better than Zoom. Thank you.